Julian Strawther, 4 weeks, will not be available. Obviously, we're all hoping that Julian Strawther gets healthy as soon as possible for the sake of his own career this year. He's done a really good job in a lot of spots for the Denver Nuggets this year, but they will be out. Julian Strawther is out. Peyton Watson is back in. So how can the Nuggets save their rotation for the rest of the way through the regular season? And what's some of the updates to the playoff picture? The Mavericks, unfortunately, are going to be completely out of the race. The Nuggets trying to find a way to go on the sloth of game versus above 500 teams. Can they get enough victories in this stretch? Yo, Ryan Blackburn, myself, we got a special episode dropping right now here at Locked On Nuggets.
You are Locked On Nuggets, your daily Denver Nuggets podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to Locked On Nuggets. This is Swipa. This is your team every day with my brother, Ryan Blackburn, here at Locked On Nuggets. We're so good to see you today. We haven't seen you in a couple of days. We got a chance to talk to you twice on Sunday about the Nuggets versus the Boston Celtics in a game that honestly they could have came away with a win, but unfortunately they were not able to get enough buckets down the stretch. But maybe the good news is the Nuggets, they had a really good defense in the second half versus a very good offensive team. Is this a sign of things to come? Malone, is he really just hiding his defensive mastermind in plain sight? And he's going to unveil it in the NBA playoff. We'll find out more. But, y'all, we just got the recent news that Julian Strawther, because of a knee injury that he suffered versus the Boston Celtics, he is going to be out for at least 4 weeks, and then I imagine to be reevaluated around that point in time as well. And so Ryan and I, we wanted to get on the call and just be able to kind of talk to you about the implications to Julian Strawther's injuries, what we think could happen in retrospect with the team, and then how the team might move forward. But Ryan, when did you first hear about the injury for Julian Strawther, and then kind of what was your initial reaction as well?
Yeah, I mean, I saw it with everybody on Sunday, and the messaging that we were kind of getting behind the scenes was that, hey, this might be a little bit more serious than just kind of a day-to-day or a week-long thing. And I actually kind of think that Denver dodged a bullet here. Like that was we just saw Kyrie Irving go down with a torn ACL, right? Like that's the kind of injury that Denver could have had. Yeah. But they didn't. And Julian, it saved a little bit. And yes, I know that this is a tough thing, but 4 weeks is way, way, way different than 9 months to a year. And it's an unfortunate timing for things because of where he's at, but he's played 61 games the entire regular season to this point for the Denver Nuggets. And I think at this point, it's just an uncomfortable place for him and the team to be when he comes back. That I am almost more concerned about than what happens over the course of the next 4 weeks.
Yeah, it's going to be a really interesting tell for the Nuggets. You know, the Nuggets, they've already, Ryan, been struggling with depth all year. Yeah. They've been struggling with how we're going to actually get a good rotation going in. You know, this past summer, Calvin Booth and Media Day said that we have 9 real guys. And in that 9 real guys, it sounded like Russell Westbrook, Julian Strawther, Peyton Watson, and Dario Saric.
Dario, baby.
Okay. Dario hasn't been in the rotation for at least 2/3 of the season this year. And obviously that was Calvin Booth's prime, in terms of the most money spent, prime free agent addition. And then he was really depending on Julian Strawther and Peyton Watson and Russell Westbrook to carry the load for this team. And no Dario Saric. We've been getting DeAndre Jordan. Now, Julian Strawther has played a lot. He's played a lot of games this year. He's been really contributing a lot of minutes. And again, one of the things that cannot be discounted, Ryan Blackburn, is that even if you don't feel like a player is playing up to their potential, there's still something valuable having another shooter and a bigger shooter on the court. At 6'7", he just offers so much to this team that when he does make shots, or even when he's in the motion of hitting shots, especially those floaters and driving, he adds another layer to this team offensively that they're able to use. And on top of that, even though defensively, Ryan, he hasn't been great this year, I think there's something so important about getting out there, learning, and losing. Because you learn how not to lose. And then that way, moving forward, you can really lock in defensively. Now, you've heard me talk about this all the time. When it comes to that top lock or that split action offensively, he has gotten lost a lot this year. Whenever a team sets a little go screen, Julian Strawther can sometimes get a little dazed. He'll forget what he's supposed to do. He can be behind on a lot of coverages, especially off ball. But he's gotten better and better as the year's gone on. And even if he hitting his three-point shots, he just is getting NBA time. And honestly, how young guys figure it out over the course of their career, it's not a linear development. At some point in time, because of the amount of minutes they get it, and then they're able to understand it. Just like Lethal Shooter. Lethal Shooter, one of the things he always does in his videos.
I understand it now.
Yeah, I understand it now, right? And that was Julian Strawther. And I think not having a month of play is going to impact him. But I am very, very glad, mostly for Julian and for the Denver Nuggets as a whole, that he at least will be back at some point in time this season.
Yeah, so to date, like he's played 61 games. He's averaged 22 minutes a night. It's way up from where he was in his first season, where he played about 550 minutes. This year he's played 1,350 minutes. It's the progression that you're looking for. And for the Nuggets, they've been in that position in particular because they don't have a lot of depth. They don't have a lot of optionality behind him. Like he was the guy heading into the year for that reason. And so Denver at this point, we'll talk about it in the next segment, of course, they didn't have a lot of choice other than to play Julian, other than to live with the mistakes. And it's been a good thing, I think, overall for him. He's at a different place now than had he just not played in his second season. So I think that people forget that guys like Jamal Murray, he was lost in his first 3 years of his career as a defensive player. Just couldn't do a thing. And it took a while. It took all of those reps, and Jamal was starting for half, 2 of those seasons. So it took a lot of time. It took a lot of progression. And the only way for him to get better is to try and fail, as you said. It's a good point. And for Denver this year, on the offensive end, there have been a lot of times where they've needed at least 2 of the 3 of Murray, Porter, and Strawther out there just to space the floor, just to shoot, just to run some of the offense that they've been able to run. I mean, we've seen it over the course of these past couple of weeks. As teams continue to contract the paint, you need other guys that can shoot. You need other guys that can space, that can be threats. And Julian just not being there is an effect. I know he's flawed. I know that there are factors that Nuggets fans are going to go over in their heads and be like, okay, but he's got the lowest net rating. That's what I'm supposed to do. It's not what you're supposed to do as a fan. He's the 7th or 8th man on the team. He's a guy who is valuable to what they do. And just because he's not going to be out there doesn't mean they're going to get better because they're going to play other guys that you think will help them. They'll find other ways where they're going to struggle. And a lot of it's going to be shooting related.
Yeah, we're going to have a lot to talk about in the second segment because I have a lot of questions for Ryan Blackburn because he's Ryan Blackburn. He's Michael Malone's right-handed
chart man, baby.
Yeah, 100%. So I'm actually really I'm really hopeful for Julian because I think that he showed a lot of promise this year and in his first year. And I think about it, how many rookies come into the league and second-year players have to come into their second year and they're asked to contribute this much on a team that wants to win a title, that's trying to win a title. And so he's getting all of the highlights, right, where everybody's like, man, you can't play defense. You're getting beat to the spot. You're late off ball. Your mechanics on your movement three-point shooting are horrible. We're watching him in process do this, whereas somebody for the Wizards, somebody for the Charlotte Hornets, somebody for apparently the Phoenix Suns, teams that are not even in the play-in, it's just not a conversation because they're not in the limelight. You don't get a chance to see them develop to try to get better on a day-to-day basis. And Julian Strawther, with all of the stuff that he's had to deal with, he's still shown up every day to go to work. And for me, I think that's very commendable for a young player. And especially when your confidence gets hit, Ryan Blackburn, it's really difficult to get out there and just to do it over and over and over again. And Julian Strawther, the best thing I can say about him, he's been a professional. Meaning he showed up to work every day. He's training. He's going to practice, and his teammates seem to like him as well. I am very hopeful for him, even for the rest of this year when he comes back, that he'll be able to come back and contribute in a positive way again.
Imagine knowing that you're going to be targeted every possession. Imagine knowing that you're in that spot where you have to find a way to solve it or else the team is going to lose. And he, more often than not, I think people don't appreciate this enough. He has made steps on the defensive end. There are fewer breakdowns than there were before. Some guys make shots over him, but he's contesting the shot. He's doing a reasonable job. And I think that it's an unfortunate place for him to be, because the last image of him for this potentially year, like we'll see what happens. Like 4 weeks from now is April 1st. That is game 76 of the regular season. So it is possible that he comes back and plays a little bit and then gets back into the playoff rotation. I won't write it off. But I think based off of what we've seen from Michael Malone, based off of what we've seen from the playoffs in general, where you just kind of tighten up and you get your defensive guys, you get your veterans out there, it's more likely than not that he's not going to play. And it's unfortunate that this is the final vision of his season that we have. But I do think that he has made steps, and I think that this will be helpful for his seasons going forward.
On the other side, we're going to talk about what are some ways they can save this rotation, and will they get some outside help in order to do it as well? And then who in-house can replace some of these minutes? We'll talk about all that and more here at Locked On Nuggets. NBA fans, get ready. They swooshed, you save. Thanks to Dash Pass. Every time a player drops 50 or more points in a game, you score a huge deal the next day. It's simple. When a player scores 50 or more in a game during the 2024-2025 NBA regular season, Dash Pass members get 50% off an order, up to $10 off the next day from noon to midnight. Now, here's a few ways you can take advantage of this deal. You got late night cravings after the game. You want to get something to eat, whether you're staying up watching highlights or just need a midnight snack. Use Dash Pass to grab something delicious while saving big. Now, lunch on the go. You need a quick or easy lunch the next day. With Dash Pass, you'll be able to get your favorite meals with $0 delivery fees and reduced service fees. Plus, now you can save even more with the exclusive NBA offer. Now, sign up for Dash Pass and be ready to save. When any player scores 50 or more in a game, Dash Pass members get 50% off the order the next day, up to $10 off. Just use promo code NBA50 from noon to midnight after a 50-point game on eligible orders at participating merchants. Must have an active Dash Pass account. Terms apply. Visit DoorDash to learn more. We'll be right back for more here on Locked On Nuggets. We're back here for Locked On Nuggets. This is segment 2. Got Ryan and Swipa here. Thank y'all so much for watching the episode. Make sure if you're watching this on YouTube, you're giving us a 5-star review on Apple, iTunes, and Spotify. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you're liking, sharing, subscribing. We're on the way to 10,000 subscribers this year. Make sure y'all tap in. We are absolutely going to get there. And by the way, speaking of DoorDash, Shai Gilgeous, because of a late game layup, got 51 points yesterday. So go ahead, sign up for Dash Pass right now. Might get you $10 off.
When did he get that layup? Because I turned that game off. It was becoming less interesting to me. And then Ross and I are watching Breaking Bad. When did he get that layup?
It's like 3 minutes left, maybe 2.5. They were up like 12 or something like that.
That could have been worse.
Well, it wasn't that
as long as it wasn't 30 seconds left in a 20-point game.
Yeah. All right. Ryan Blackburn.
Yes, sir.
How can the Nuggets save their rotation? Let me offer maybe a slight solution, and then you can counter, and then tell me what you think they should do. It's Jalen Pickett time. That's what it seems like. It's Jalen Pickett time. He is going to be the additional guard that they're going to play in this rotation. Now, Peyton Watson will be back, so Peyton will be able to take up for a lot of those minutes that they're going to miss from Julian Strawther. But in terms of just having another guard on the court, in terms of just having another shooter on the court that at least you can look at and say we can get some offensive production from, is Jalen Pickett going to end up being the answer?
Think about where we are. And think about where this place is for Denver, and how this season has progressed, and where Jalen Pickett is now versus our perception of him at the beginning of the season. I'm so happy for that dude, man. Like that's just one of those things where we wouldn't be talking about this if he hadn't shown up to work every single day, put in the time, put in the effort to get his body right, to get his mind right, and to show to the coaching staff that he can be counted upon. And so I think you're right that Denver should be going with a 10-man rotation from here on out. I think that he should be a factor there. He has to play more than even that. Like, Pickett has shown some reliability both with Jokic and Murray and even Westbrook as somebody that they can trust to do the right thing. And if there was a criticism of Julian, it's that he wasn't in the right place all the time. was a little bit wild. You didn't know what he was going to do. With Jalen Pickett, you know what you're going to get. And he's going to be solid defensively, though undersized. He's going to make good decisions with the basketball. He's going to spot up. He's going to cut. He's going to run some pick and roll. It's going to be good. So I love that idea. I think it's important for him to get some opportunities here. Do I think he's going to be a playoff guy for them? No. But who knows? Like maybe he is a guy that you can count on in a situation where you need a little bit more of a stable hand. Like if there is kind of a juxtaposition with Russell Westbrook, who is a high turnover guy, who is a high chances taken guy, who's somebody who can change the tide of a game. Jalen Pickett's kind of the opposite of that, where you are not going to make a bunch of mistakes, but you're going to just be out there and be solid. Honestly, that's something that coaches like, man.
Well, let me ask you this. You know Malone. You've been around Malone since 2016. Yep. Ryan Blackburn has grown up in this business. I'm not sure if y'all know that. Okay. Is the answer actually just going to be Hunter Tyson?
No, I think it's going to be Peyton Watson.
So that's the thing, right? So the new second unit that's been kind of crossing my brain: Russell Westbrook, Peyton Watson, Zeke Naji, Jalen Pickett. Is that going to be the new four that are coming off of the bench more to make up for the loss of Julian Strawther? And then behind them, I guess the additional guard if they had to go to one, is that just going to be Trey Alexander?
Yeah, you're probably going to keep Trey around a little bit more just because you're going to need another emergency guard. Maybe Spencer Jones gets some time. He's a little bit of a bigger wing. Nothing like he hasn't really shown anything to me that I would expect him to be an impactful piece. But really, to me, it's Peyton Watson, man. Like, I think they should run a 10-man rotation. I think they should stagger those guys. I don't think they should play all bench units, but if they did, it would be Jalen Pickett, Russell Westbrook, Peyton Watson, Zeke Naji, DeAndre Jordan, which it sounds kind of whack, but like it actually does make sense. I think that Peyton, and I put out a thread on social today, I think he needs to play the two. I'm in your camp, man. I'm in a camp here with you. I think that there are going to be some opportunities for him to play shooting guard for the rest of the season. And I think that what Denver needs to do is you've got your core four, and then you play your best perimeter defender. And that's Peyton Watson. He's a guy that can affect the game. And I think you just leave, like you use your size. You use your biggest advantage as a team. And you be the biggest team that you possibly can be. And that means throwing Peyton Watson at the two, having him wreak havoc on a perimeter guard, and just trying to use as much size to your advantage as possible and get him ready for the playoffs.
Yeah, it's about time that Ryan Blackburn and I get on the same side this year in 2025. We've been on opposing sides all year. Let me ask you this question: do you think their floor actually is going to be a little higher now if they sub out? Could think about again. The idea is that Julian Strawther's offense will be important for this team, but the reality is that his offense has not been that important to the team.
He's still inconsistent,
right. And the reality is he's been probably their worst rotational defender. And then the reality is Peyton Watson, I think, has been their best defender on a per possession basis this year. Yeah, is it going to raise the floor for them to have to then now Russ, Peyton, Zeke, all of them are plus defenders, and then integrating them into the lineup, even though the shooting is going to be what it is at this point because the Nuggets just don't have shooting? Do you think that ultimately their defensive ceiling gets higher, which ultimately raises the value of the team?
I do. I actually wrote about this after the Celtics game. I had to take some time. We talked about this after the show. Like, for those that don't know, we recorded 2 episodes of Locked On, and then we spoke for about an hour after that, and we were just talking about different things. And one of the things that I brought up was just about the defense and being willing to sort of lean into a new identity for Denver. And like this, I think, could be the catalyst for Denver to try to become the best version of themselves defensively, because 95 defensive rating when Jokic was on the floor in that second half against the Celtics, not like a bad team, a perimeter oriented team that Denver should have no business being able to defend without the right personnel, but they were able to make it happen because they played smart, they played hard, and they did a lot of good things. I think you should lean into that. I think that Peyton Watson and Zeke Naji and Russell Westbrook and Jalen Pickett, I think they help that. I think they help provide a little bit of a catalyst there for stuff like that. And it allows Murray, Porter, Jokic. Those guys are then your worst defenders in the rotation.
Yeah.
Except maybe DeAndre Jordan. And I think that gives you some flexibility to, like, hey, build around those guys with the best possible defense that you can.
On the other side, I'm going to ask you directly, and you can pull up your chart. What do you think the substitution patterns should look like over the next few weeks? We're going to talk about all that and more here at Locked On Nuggets. Now, running a small business means you're wearing a lot of hats. Your personal phone becomes your business phone. And before you know it, you're juggling customers' calls day and night. As your team grows, it becomes impossible to manage everything with just your personal number. That's where OpenPhone comes in. It's the #1 business phone system designed to help you keep your work and personal life separate. Now, for just $15 a month, the cost of a few coffees, you get complete transparency and visibility into everything happening with your business phone number. OpenPhone works through an app on your phone or computer and integrates with tools like HubSpot and hundreds of others. It also uses AI-powered call transcript and summary, so you'll have a rundown of your calls and action items the second you hang up. And if you miss a call, no problem. Automated messages are sent directly to your customer, ensuring you never miss an opportunity to engage. Right now, OpenPhone is offering 20% off your first 6 months when you go to openphone.com/LockedOnNBA. That's OpenPhone.com/LockedOnNBA for 20% off 6 months. OpenPhone.com/LockedOnNBA. And if you have existing numbers with another service, OpenPhone will port them over at no extra charge. We'll be right back for more here on Locked On Nuggets. We are back here for the final segment of Locked On Nuggets. This is your host, Swipa, one of his best friends. Hopefully, maybe in my wedding one day, Ryan Blackburn. Shout out to my brother. We're here talking about the Denver Nuggets rotation. We're talking about how should the rotation look now that Julian Strawther will be out for at least 4 weeks. Ryan Blackburn, can you please give us a little bit of an idea what the rotation could look like?
Yeah, let me see if this works. Oh, it didn't work. I tried my best.
It's fine. You can still show it.
Okay, actually, yeah, you know what? That's because I decided to put it in the overlay. Let me cancel that really quick.
Ryan Blackburn ruining the show, everyone.
Yeah, that's what I do.
On the audio side.
I do. I know. Okay, image file. There we go. Still trying to figure it out.
By the way, he doesn't do this when Michael Malone is present. He only does this when I'm present. By the way, he's precise when Malone asks him for this.
Yeah. Okay. So here's a good look at it. I put this out on social earlier today. I think that Denver has to get a little bit more creative. This is a very complicated rotation. This is something that Michael Malone, and he's leaned into it a little bit more this season than he has in the past. But I think that there's ways for Denver to get Russell Westbrook on the floor with Jokic, get Peyton Watson out there a little bit more permanently, play him at the 2 in some of these cases, and then continue to play all these different guys and provide a whole bunch of different lineups and possibilities that you can throw out there on a consistent basis. I like this rotation because it reduces Aaron Gordon's minutes a little bit. It reduces Jamal Murray's minutes a little bit. It reduces Christian Brown's minutes a little bit. And I think that Denver's got to find a way to win games without playing those guys 100 minutes a game. It shouldn't be that hard. This shouldn't be something that they have to struggle through. But with Julian Strawther out, I think you try to play 10 guys, Jalen Pickett, Russell Westbrook, Peyton Watson, Zeke Naji, DeAndre Jordan off the bench. You don't ever have to play those guys at the same time. The only time when 4 of those guys play together is when they're playing with Jokic at the end of the first and third quarter. So what do you think of it? What do you think?
Yeah, so for the audio listeners, Jalen Pickett's at 10 minutes, Russell Westbrook's at 20 minutes, Peyton Watson's at 23 minutes, Zeke Naji 18, DeAndre Jordan is at 9. So here's the thing. I think the idea of Russell Westbrook playing 20 minutes is wild. I think it has to happen, honestly. The only way that they're going to be able to play Peyton Watson at the 2 is if they reduce Russell Westbrook's minutes, because they've got to play Jalen Pickett at the 1. No, I understand that. I definitely get it. I think Malone, though, as better and trusting as he is, that's what I would struggle a little bit. I mean, Russell Westbrook without Julian Strawther, there's a propensity for Malone within the first, let's say, 5 games where Russ is playing about 28 minutes a game. because he's trying to kind of square him into that. It's like, okay, he needs to be the solution. He's a ball handler. He's a veteran, former MVP. We can trust him more. I am with you, though. I think that his minutes should be reduced. I think Peyton Watson, because he's the future of this team, honestly, like unless they have plans to trade him for a superstar or something like that, Peyton Watson's going to be a part of the real long-term branch for this team. And respectfully, Peyton Watson and Zeke Naji, for me, Ryan Blackburn, they're going to be so big for this team over the next month with the kind of teams they're going to be playing against, especially versus OKC, versus the Lakers. And if teams are going to scheme against you to where you're not going to want to be able to shoot, well, then you need to be able to defend and have a higher defensive floor. And I think in the playoffs, Peyton Watson, and I'm kind of at this point now, Ryan, I think Zeke Naji needs to play at least in some series to prove he cannot play. And until he does so, he needs to get minutes, because I think you need to have a player that's willing to give that kind of effort defensively around Joker. And if you can give him Christian Brown, Aaron Gordon, Zeke Naji, Peyton Watson, and Russell Westbrook, to me, that's like, man, the Nuggets are really hard to score against. And even if they're not scoring as consistently as we ought to want, they still are getting really, really good looks 7 out of 10 times down the stretch of the floor. I think there's something to be said about maximizing their defensive potential by utilizing Peyton Watson and Zeke Naji.
I think it's a great point, and that's why I have those guys playing the minutes that they do. Russell Westbrook's still going to play at least 20 minutes. This is something where, hey, if you want to cut it down to a 9-man rotation, I think you probably cut Jalen Pickett from it, and you keep Peyton Watson out there. He's your wing. He's your versatile guy. I think you need to keep Zeke Naji out there. I do. I think it's the size, it's the physicality, it's the athleticism. Denver's got to find ways to keep him out there. So I'm with you, man. This is it's going to be fascinating to see how this goes, but I am curious to see what the Nuggets decide to do.
Let me ask you a direct question. Okay, the Nuggets, are they just like, look, we can't do this. We have to have another body. We're just going to sign Justin Holiday. Hunter Tyson, appreciate it, but you're just not as valuable to this team right now as having an additional piece like a 37-year-old Justin Holiday would be. Do you think that's an option for them, where they're just like, we have to get another shooter, we have to get another player that can play guard, and we have to get another player that can defend, because you just lost 2 of those things, and now you have to have Justin Holiday?
You did, right? Like, what I'm trying to come up with is a way for Denver to survive really in the regular season. But if people remember back to the playoffs, Justin Holiday was the guy that helped them turn around Game 3 and Game 4 and Game 5 of that Minnesota series. He was fantastic. He was so good. And like, he wasn't exclusively attacked by Anthony Edwards because he was a good enough defender and didn't really, like, he wasn't the weak link out there. So just having a guy that's not the weak link is really important. And so I love the idea of getting back Justin Holiday, because, I mean, I'm going to say it respectfully, I do not think that Hunter Tyson's going to help this team win in the playoffs. I just don't. And that's an unfortunate reality. It's kind of something that Denver's going to have to figure out. But like in with that, and with Dario Saric and with their other two-way guys, like, they're just not going to help. So you got to find guys that can.
Look, I understand, and I genuinely mean this. I really, truly understand that Calvin Booth has a vision of young players, that he wants to build an arsenal of young players on this roster that are growing up in the system, that develop in the system, that contribute to the system. And I think that was the idea with Christian Brown, Peyton Watson, Zeke Naji, with Jalen Pickett, with Hunter Tyson. I understand it. I see it. But if they want to do something this year, I don't know. I think for me, it's going to say a lot that if Julian Strawther's out for this month, Ryan, and it's like just turn to Jalen Pickett, and knowing Malone is probably not going to be as confident in Zeke Naji to just play him regardless of the situation.
Or Pickett.
Pickett.
Yeah.
And then also knowing Zeke Naji himself has had some things he dealt with injury-wise in the past, I think it would say a lot if they don't add a single player to the rotation given this injury. Yeah.
I don't know, man. I don't know what's going to happen here. I think that Denver's in a very interesting spot. Markelle Fultz signed a contract. Maybe he's a guy that you could have gone after at this point. Chetty Osman is still out there as a free agent. Evan Fournier is overseas. like Patrick Beverley, he's podcast man, Patrick Beverley himself, still out there. So, I mean, not a lot of great options. Maybe Reggie Bullock is somebody that they could go after.
Do you think they just roll with it though in your gut?
Yeah. I mean, look, they haven't made any moves. Why start now at this point? Like, I don't think that anything's coming down the pipeline, but you never know. I'm not going to sit here and say that they can't do it. Maybe Lonnie Walker's a guy that they circle back to and try to target. I'm not sure what his deal looks like at this point.
With the 76ers?
Oh, no, he did sign with the 76ers, did he?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he did.
It feels like the 76ers have signed everybody over the course of these last few weeks. Hey, that's an active team. Good for them. But they're not going to win a championship, so who cares?
Well, chat, let me know what you think in the comment section. How do you feel about Julian Strawther being out for the next month? How do you feel like the Denver Nuggets can save their rotation? Do you think they should just roll with Jalen Pickett, Russell Westbrook, Peyton Watson, and Zeke Naji? Go ahead, Ryan Blackburn.
Oh, really quickly, do you want to do West update really quick?
Yes. Yeah, let's do that.
So at this point, OKC is 1, LA, the Lakers are 2, Denver's 3, Memphis is 4. They are not winning a lot of games right now.
No, they just lost a game. They've had 3 clutch games. They've lost all 3.
Yeah, when you lose 3 in a row, you're 3-7 in your last 10 games. Houston has lost 2 in a row. They're 5-5 in their last 10. Golden State's up to 6. Right now, Denver would be facing the Golden State Warriors in the first round of the playoffs. Then they would be facing, in all likelihood, the Lakers in the second round of the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just curious. So, like, Dallas is now 10th. We just saw the injury that happened to them with Kyrie Irving. They're having a year from hell. I feel really bad for their fans, although like they didn't exactly treat Jokic with a lot of kindness over the course of the previous calendar year, but like that's behind us at this point. They're in a really rough place, man. I don't think that the Mavericks are going to stick around. There's no way that they could maintain playoff seeding at this point.
I think I want to be very open about this, and Ryan Blackburn and Matt Moore feel very similarly. We are deeply, in basketball terms, hurt for the Dallas Mavericks fans with all the stuff they've had to deal with. Kyrie's been an exemplary player for the Mavericks organization the last 2.5 years. Helped you go to a title. Tore his ACL in a very similar play to a lot of Nuggets fans from April 2021 that we all remember very vividly. That was a very low point for a lot of us, and that lasted for 2 years for us. So we have been in a very similar place. It's very unfortunate that an NBA GM and an ownership can have a view of a team and of a player that would cause such a seismic shift in the NBA to hand over a top 3 player in the league to the LA Lakers, and now they're contending, and then basically say that we don't believe we can win now with said player, even though he went to an NBA Finals last year, and then the player you trade him for gets hurt within a half, and then a half of a quarter of the first game they play in, as good as they look, and then on top of that, Derek Lively's been out, and then on top of that, now Kyrie Irving is
Gafford too.
Gafford is hurt. They have had to deal with some true basketball drama, and we don't obviously love that for them at all. And so it's definitely frustrating. I think right now where I have the Nuggets, I'm you, but I'm not you. I'm you with a little more hope. I think
that's not hard.
I think that the Denver Nuggets could still ostensibly win a title. What I'm predicting is they will not, that they're probably going to be out in the second round. Given the matchup, I think they can beat the Warriors. I think they have a path to beating OKC. I think they can beat the LA Lakers with adjustments. But because of the shooting deficiencies, unless this team truly turned into a locked down basketball team, and again, that's going to include the things that Ryan and I both suggested: Peyton Watson, Zeke Naji, Russell Westbrook. Let's go scrap. Everybody does their job defensively, including Jalen Pickett, and maybe they add Justin Holiday. Ryan, I would say it like this: every player that comes into the game for the Denver Nuggets, they need to play scrappy defense. Every single one.
Yeah, it's about to be a war, man. Like that's the thing for a series like that. Let's say Denver gets through the Warriors. Like even if they have to struggle with them a little bit, let's say it's 6 games. I think that they can get through that Warriors matchup and be okay, because they just don't have an answer for Jokic. And even if they try to do the same things, Denver's going to take advantage of them in ways that they couldn't take advantage of the Lakers. That Lakers matchup is now like, Strawther was a guy that they were picking on. Like he had 4 fouls in a minute and a half. And I don't think that Strawther's presence really affects that matchup that much.
Mm-hmm.
But like you said, it's got to be war in that particular series if they were to get to it. So, like, whether that's Peyton Watson, are you ready for the battle? Zeke Naji, are you ready for the battle? Jalen Pickett, you're ready to scrap? Let's go. That team, and Michael Porter especially, that's somebody I'm watching at. Like, Michael Porter, are you ready to scrap? Because I know that Jamal Murray is. I know that Nikola Jokic is. I know that Aaron Gordon is. He's got to prove it again, but I know that those guys are, and I know that Christian Brown is, to be honest. Like, I think he's like, that dude is ready for a scrap. Like, he's ready for a fight. Are they going to be able to deliver on that? Are they going to be able to make enough shots to get through that? I don't know.
Well, and again, I brought this game up so many times, and the Nuggets, they had a 105-91 win over the Memphis Grizzlies in December 2022 that helped them to take over the first seed and eventually led them to the championship. And that lineup, do you remember what the starting lineup was that game?
Oh, I do. It was Bruce Brown, Christian Brown, KCP, Aaron Gordon, Nikola Jokic.
And they locked up.
Nice.
Honestly, Peyton Watson, Zeke Naji, Christian Brown, Aaron Gordon, that should be like that should be it. Like, if you're on the court with Jokic, it should be like you're not scoring. And one of the things Matt Moore had brought up, a brilliant point. The reason why the Nuggets low man defense on the level has sucked so much this year because teams are bringing up Aaron Gordon and saying, okay, well, the low man's going to be Porter, whoever. But look, if you're telling me Peyton Watson's in the game, Aaron Gordon's in the game, Zeke Naji's in the game, you shouldn't be scoring. Like, I mean, honestly, you legitimately should get no easy looks at the rim, and you should be just trying to pummel teams on the offensive glass to try to secure those boards and to get other opportunities to score. Because you know what? You might have to take a little playbook from Houston Rockets. Houston Rockets can't shoot. So what did they do? They offensive rebound higher than anybody else in the league, at least the first part of the season they did. I mean, you're going to have to find ways to manufacture some offense. And again, you have good enough offensive players where you can make it happen. But to your point, Michael Porter Jr. has to be a true third option.
Undoubtedly. And or else he's just not going to play. That's the place where we are at with this team. And Michael Malone has to be willing to make those tough decisions. He has gone into battle with those guys. He knows who they are. He has to know that this team, and he does know that this team has to be a great defensive team. So whatever he does, it has to be with those great defensive games in mind. And I think that they can get to that place with some of the personnel that they have, but it's going to take some serious work over the course of these next 20. I don't know if he's ready for it. I frankly don't. And I don't know if the Nuggets are ready for it, but they have to try. We'll
find out. Is Justin Holiday going to be on his roster? We'll find out. Jalen Pickett, is he everything Adam Modest thought he would be? That's Ryan Blackburn, Ryan Charburn, Michael Malone's right-hand man. This is Swipa. Love y'all. Hope y'all have a great, spectacular rest of your day. We'll have more for you from Matt Moore and Ryan Blackburn tomorrow. We'll see you on the other side.